everyone, and welcome to my channel, Rayne Ventures. I'm Bailey Rayne, and today we're going to be talking about, or I'm going to be questioning my husband about
That's scary.
the new Polaris that's coming out, the 2022, and kind of what he thinks about it, just general questions. It's going to be kind of set up as a surprise. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask him.
It's okay, I got my computer. I'm good.
He's got backup.
Exactly.
Not all the questions are related off of like complete facts. So, all right, I guess let's begin.
Well, just to give clarification, we're looking at the new Razor Turbo R, and then also
We're looking at it for like discussion purposes. That is it. We're not getting another.
We're not getting another one at this time.
No.
Unless somebody wants to donate one.
Yeah.
Then by all means, or somebody wants to take this in a ride, I'll be more than happy to go.
Yes.
So the Razor Turbo R and then the Razor Pro R, and then obviously we used to have just the normal Pro XP.
Yes.
So.
Ultimate. Okay, so my first question is, I know you put a lot of time in researching all about your UTVs and your side-by-sides that come out and all the products relating to them. I'm just curious, how many hours do you think you spend, like, between picking out the Polaris we had and the Kawasaki now we have? How much research do you think you do on these things?
When we were first looking at the machine, I can't even honestly tell you how many hours. It was countless hours, believe it or not, just because I was between watching videos, going on the different forums for the actual machines, getting people's opinion and whatnot, and then doing my own research on their website, and just literally clicking on every single basically website page there was, and then obviously going and looking at the machines as well. I mean, it was countless hours. I honestly can't even give you an exact estimation because...
Well, and you look at all types of machines. When we originally looked, right?
Yeah.
You were looking at Can-Am, Honda.
Everything.
I mean, we even I went and sat in the Honda Talon. I mean, full on.
I literally spent, I can't even tell you, like I said, it was hours and hours. It might have been equated to days, but I do that with anything, whether it's a UTV or a car or whatever. I like to be knowledgeable on them, or at least to the best of my ability. I mean, obviously, I wasn't as knowledgeable on the Polaris's clutch system, which was a little disappointing, but I thought it, but maybe we just had a bad one. Anyways.
Okay. Well, so what are the features of this new Polaris in general, and what do you wish we would have had in the Polaris we had?
So, little background. I thought originally when we were in the side-by-side, I wanted a narrower machine. 64 inches wide, and I completely changed my mind. After learning and experiencing how tippy the 64-inch wide is, I would have obviously went with either the 68, which is the Cowie, or honestly, I'd probably go wider, because there's even times in the Cowie that it's amazing how the width of it still feels a little bit unstable. I've never been in a 72, so I don't know what that is. One of the features on this one is it being 74 inches wide, which from what I know, it's the first one that's 74 inches wide, unless obviously you put a different wheel offset on one of the 72 inches, then they are wider, of course. But yeah, that's one of the big things that hit me, was it being 74 inches wide, and they actually increased the wheelbase on this one even more than what ours was. I think ours was 96, if I remember correctly, which I think is what the actual the Turbo R is, if I'm looking at it correctly. The Turbo R is a 96-inch wheelbase, and then the new Pro R is actually 104.5, which I know in certain situations it's good. Other situations it can hurt you when you're trying to climb up a cliff and you have two cliffs and the front tires or one spot and the back tires. They sometimes can hurt, but just like Can-Am has a longer wheelbase than Polaris and so on. So it'll be interesting on how that works. And then another feature on this one that caught me a little bit in shock is Polaris always talked about their extreme performance true on-demand two-wheel drive / all-wheel drive. Their new one is called a Pro Performance True two-wheel drive / four-wheel drive / four-wheel drive lock. And it almost kind of sounds like what the Kawasaki is. It has the two-wheel drive, then it has what I would consider like the four-wheel drive, almost auto, if you want to call it that, and then you can actually have the four-wheel drive diff lock. I don't 100% know. It's actually one of the big things I'd love to know, and find out about, just because it was one thing that always kind of bugged me is Polaris, you didn't have the option to be in four-wheel drive where you weren't going to take a chance of breaking your front diff if by chance you were spinning and you came down. So with having the Cowie, that is one nice feature, and I think that's going to be a feature on the Pro R versus the Turbo R. That's one difference. And then the horsepower of this one, which I know everyone's into their speed, and for what we do, the speed really doesn't matter. I mean, majority of the time, actually, I don't think I've ever, I think I talked about it one time. I opened up the Polaris once or twice. I opened it up on a trail, but we were doing like 65, 70 miles an hour at the one point, and there was a turn/curve coming up, and I was like, okay, I'm slowing it back down, because plus, honestly, at 64 inches wide, I don't feel the thing is quite stable enough to be going that fast in it. I know other people will disagree, but that's why with this one being 225 horsepower and being naturally aspirated, which I think is pretty cool, I don't think it's going to require premium, because obviously, as you guys know, premium gas prices are much higher than regular. So it's definitely a pretty interesting machine. One thing I'm going to obviously comment about is their clutch system. Supposedly it's been upgraded and better, but that's what they said on the other one too that we owned.
Yeah. What are the differences between each of the levels of the new Polarises?
Well, if you're talking about trim levels,
yeah.
So it's kind of the Turbo R, which is just the wider version of what we had. They have the Sport, which is just like the same as what ours were: the Sport, the Premium, and the Ultimate. And you have 3 different levels. The starting price on the Sport is 26 grand plus. And then you have the Premium, which is 30. And then you have the Ultimate, which is 33. And we only ended up paying, I think, 26. Basically, it was 26 plus tax out the door for ours. So the price jumps pretty substantially right away. I mean, we had way more than that into our machine. I don't even know if I want to admit to it, but we probably had close to 40,000 into our machine, all said and done.
Yeah, but to match pretty much what we had before, you're starting off
36. Much higher. Yeah. But one thing I will say about this one is, well, actually, I'll talk about that in a little bit, but just because it kind of goes into more about the features of the machine. And then if you're going to the actual Pro R, that starts at 32 for their Sport. Then they have a Premium, which goes to 35. Their Ultimate is 38, and then they have a Pro R Ultimate Launch Edition, and that's 40, basically 41, 40,999 is 41. And that is just absolutely crazy to me to think that you have a side-by-side that's over 40 grand before you do anything with it. That's just absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
So,
well, you already answered my next question, the price differences between them.
I mean, yeah, because if we were to compare, so obviously if I would probably go with one, I don't know, I probably would go to the Pro R instead of just the Turbo R because of the longer wheelbase and being naturally aspirated instead of having a turbo. I think it is personally better. But, I mean, you're talking about a $12,000 price difference before we had any accessories.
That's crazy.
So, when I built one on here...
It's more than a car.
Yeah, when I built one on here, it was like 45 grand with the accessories that I wanted. And then that's not including tax, title, and license and all that stuff. So, I mean, you're going to be well over 50 grand. Plus, the thing I'm sure is going to need springs, because all machines need springs, no matter what it is. They all need different springs. So, yeah, you're going to easily be up to that price.
Yeah. So, what do you personally feel are the pros of the new 2022, just in general?
The width, I would have to say, has got to be a pretty good one on it. And the new dynamic system, which is something I wanted to talk about, they have the Dynamics DV system. They have 4 different modes, plus supposedly in the new Turbo R, they actually have different drive modes as well, which is pretty impressive to me that I don't know exactly what that means, but they're controlling the actual driving aspect. I'm assuming throttle control and horsepower and stuff like that is in part of that, because you have the different modes. I think it's rock, wide open. Now I'm drawing a blank on that one. No, I don't remember. Let me see if I can find that really quickly. But you have Baja, Rock, Comfort, and Trek. So you got those 4 different modes, and it'd be pretty interesting what the Rock one would do, obviously for us, That would be the biggest one I would be
yeah.
curious about.
I mean, that's all we do is rock climbing.
I'm really curious about what that being the case, if they're able to fix their clutching issue with having people burn up their clutches, or burning belts, I should say, on it. It's one of those things that, I don't know, I hope they were able to figure that out, or they are able to figure that out, but we'll just have to wait and see. Supposing this whole entire machine has been upgraded, strength-wise and everything. One thing that bugged me, which we talked about, we had to change our front A-arms out because of the paper-thin metal that were on them. This has a whole different construction on it, and it'll be really interesting with their stamped steel A-arms. Are they really that much stronger from factory, and you don't have to replace it? Because our A-arms were $850 just to replace it. So that does, hopefully you don't have to do that with it. I mean, even our trailing arms on the Polaris are pretty awful, and we ended up changing those out too, so there was an extra $800. Hopefully Polaris did step it up with this, and that saves anyone from, I don't know, $1,600, which is pretty massive difference.
Yeah. So what is it you don't like about the new one? What would be some cons that would kind of turn you away from it?
Honestly, it goes, the biggest thing obviously is the springs, but that's just any machine, so I can't really talk badly about that. I once again go back to the clutching system, only because I don't have a whole lot of faith in their clutching system, just because of the headaches that we have, and watching other people always have to do a gear reduction to their machine. I think that's kind of ridiculous, that you have to spend the additional money on that when they should be able to have that under control. So, I mean, unfortunately, without seeing the machine, I can't really say what the negatives are of it, being that obviously I'm not the tallest person in the world. I mean, I'm 5'10", but it still doesn't feel like I'm anywhere near tall enough. I do wish they have the adjustment to go back further on your seat, but I wish they made an adjustment so where
you could go up and down.
You could go up even a little bit, and even a little bit more forward, because when you're sitting there, you're still leaning back.
It's hard to see over the front end.
Yeah, you can't see over the front end and the outside. One con I can definitely say about it, both of the machines, they don't have closed doors. You still have to buy the door close-offs, which is absolutely ridiculous. Come on, you're talking about a $38,000 machine on one of them, and I think the other one was $35,000 for the Ultimate. You still have to buy close-offs? That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you're still having open doors. I don't know. I don't understand that part.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, just a general overview, thought, review. What do you personally feel about the new ones?
I will be very interested in how the machine actually performs. Obviously, like I said, my biggest question is about the clutch. I want to know how well the clutch system works on it. I know their suspension is going to be phenomenal, just like it was before. Obviously, once you get new springs, because that's still one thing I will say. The suspension on ours was phenomenal, and I can't wait to see the actual real-world application of the strength of it compared to other. Like I said, all machines have their issues, but Polaris was known for some of them having, like they said, the cheap front A-arms. Absolutely doesn't make any sense to me when that's something that gets smacked all the time. It's one of the things you're like, oh, that's gonna hurt. And I mean, when we had our upgraded ones, it didn't matter. But I'm really curious about the just overall the new engine. Obviously, new engine, new clutching system. It'll be interesting how that works out. I mean, I don't think I'd want to rush out and buy the first one, just because, unfortunately, all machines have their issues. No matter what it is, new cars, new trucks, new SUVs, boats, whatever it is, they always have issues the first year until they figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'm a little disappointed that Polaris didn't come out with their transmission in this machine. I know it might have increased the price of it even more so, which seems even more ridiculous.
Oh, God.
But for this price, I kind of wish they would have just come out with an actual transmission like the Honda Talon has, because
that was why we looked at that in the very, very beginning, was because of the transmission.
Yep. And because to me, a transmission is still the best option. And I know some people say the CVT is better, but I personally feel a transmission is still better. Or Polaris should have come out with the hydraulic clutch, or wet clutch, some people call it, that either the new Yamaha has, or I should say Yamaha R-Max. So I'd be specific with that. And then also the Kawasaki, because it doesn't seem like really, no matter what, the belt gets wet or anything, it still somehow grips onto it. Just because of how much harder it actually grips onto the belt. So I don't know. I can't wait to see one out on the trail. I mean, if I see one, I'm definitely gonna stop and ask somebody.
Oh yeah, when we're at Windrock or something, if somebody goes by with it, I can promise you we'll be stopping.
I'll definitely be stopping and asking questions and seeing it.
Waving them down. Hey.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Or if one of you guys end up getting one, please let us know.
Yeah, comment, share about it. Let us know what you think. We're open to hearing about it. Not to say we're open to switching anytime soon. Because we are not.
Not unless we win the lottery or something like that,
yeah,
then maybe.
We don't have the money for it. But
definitely not. We already had our.
We've already had our whoopses, and we're not going down the road again.
I am curious though. I know it's just talking about the Polaris, but supposedly Can-Am is supposed to have something to compete with Polaris's new one. So it'll be interesting.
Well, in general, every single company has their pros and cons to every single vehicle, and every single person chooses that vehicle for whatever reason they feel it works for them. So it's great if you're a Polaris fan or a Kawasaki fan or Can-Am or Honda. It doesn't matter. You chose it for whatever reasons you chose it, and as long as you're happy with what you have, that is all that matters. So that's pretty much all.
You're gonna have diehard Polaris people, diehard Can-Am.
Kind of like Samsung and iPhone, and you have people that are dedicated to those things too.
Nobody wants a crapple.
Oh, stop.
Sorry, I didn't have a choice. I had to put that in there.
Anyways, so that's pretty much it today. That was what we wanted to talk about, the new Polaris, because if you've been following our channel for a while, you know that we had a Polaris before, and so of course when this came out, he was going to research it, and I really wanted him to share and ask him questions about the differences and everything. So
yep,
that's pretty much it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe, share, like, comment, all those wonderful things. And we will see you on our next venture. Bye, guys.